So, alhamdulillah, welcome back everybody. All the way over here. You ducks out of the way of the camera. Doing his best imitation of Sufi Navy SEAL. I bet it wasn't very good. Okay. So a couple, one or two loose ends, and then we're going to inshallah tie it up. So there's a beloved here who I asked to, came up to me, Sarah, and shared with me an exciting project that has to do with ethics. I'm going to ask her a moment to come up and really talk about it. The reason ethics are important is if you go back to yesterday, we talked about the character traits of the Prophet Mohammed, alayhi salam. And it says in the Quran, he was sent to be the example of the perfection of moral character. So what you're bringing is just, boom, right in line with one of our deeper intentions for the workshop. So I'm looking forward to that. Now, from a classical Sufi point of view, we're talking about, going back to the technical term, you could say it would be brotherhood. How do we be brothers and sisters with each other without separation? Because to carry the heart of unity is the ethic, is the essence of the ethical moral behavior, not to create separation. So before we finish today, inshallah, I want to give you something very special that Allah has given us through Sidi to help achieve that state of being in the world in a state of unity. So there was, remember yesterday we were talking about what are the duties of brotherhood, sisterhood, humanhood, and one is to, just a brief review for those of you who weren't here, one of those is the, first of all we said, each time two people are in company together, the dearer to God, or to go back to what we said yesterday, the most pleasing to God, is the one who is kinder to his companion. The one who is kinder to his companion. And in a similar nature, in the Quran, surely God has vessels on his earth, actually this is hadith, surely God has vessels on his earth, namely our hearts. The hearts are a vessel on earth. It's like we're a body having a heart experience. Our hearts are Allah's vessel on earth. I mean, also the rest of us, which we'll get into in a minute. And the vessels that are dearest to Allah, again, most pleasing to Allah, are the purest, the strongest, and the finest. The hearts that are the purest, the strongest, and the finest. Purest from sins, meaning they've cleaned from the heart the qualities of anger, of arrogance, of separation, of judgment. Purest from sins, strongest in faith, in their connection that, put in the terms of the afternoon, that Allah truly is my sustainer. That, as he says, without Allah, I am nothing. And in the path of the ones brought near, which Allah signed you up for, you wouldn't be in this workshop. Right? You'd be out having fun somewhere. What you used to consider fun. The path of the ones brought near, one's deep prayer is to extinguish your existence, the false existence that you created, who you think you are, who you think you're not, all of that, blah, 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 right? Until, who wants the full dose, the full deal? Yeah. The image that he says, until you realize that you're nothing more than a worthless can crushed underfoot. And that's not for people who have poor self-images and are struggling with self-images. Don't go there. But it means that you realize your false existence is nothing. It's garbage. Truly. It's really garbage. And without Allah, and when Allah takes the life out of you, you're just a corpse. A rotting corpse, as Siddhi would love to say, that's so stinky they want your money immediately, but they want to get rid of your corpse as soon as possible, right? I mean, that's the reality of life on earth. So, we'll go to some more cheery pictures in a moment. So, in terms of the highest moral character, and this is with, I'm going to go back to how we started yesterday, how are we going to be as a community, on Monday morning? How are we going to be with each other? And part of that is, yes, this community of beloveds, but also it's how are you going to be in the communities of which you're a part that goes way beyond, whatever your Sufi buddies are. How are we going to be on Monday morning? So the example of the Prophet, one, is the duties of the tongue, is not to mention the faults of your brother or sister, either in their absence or in their presence. We're usually pretty good about not mentioning people's faults when they can hear us. But how about in their so-called out of earshot? Keeping your brother's secrets. The believer always keeps present in himself the good qualities of his brother or sister, so that his heart may be the source of honor, affection, and respect. The hypocrite of low character is always noticing misdeeds and faults. The hypocrite, those of you who read the Quran, hypocrite comes in for some very strong condemnation from the Most High. Be a hypocrite is actually one of the most. A hypocrite is to act one way, in public and a different way in private. From the Gnostics, we are guided. Say, the believer tries to find excuses for others, while the hypocrite looks out for mistakes. Fudail said, manliness is pardoning the slips of one's brother. Manliness is pardoning the mistakes of one's brother. I'm going to slip that into the Republican debate next time.
Could you repeat that about a hypocrite looks for mistakes and then something before that?
The believer tries to find excuses for others. I know this is not going to get in a conversation about codependency. This is like Gnostic, looking deeper than the outside pictures and clearing the places in the heart that immediately go to judgment and separation.
Is that a good thing, trying to find excuses for others?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Blows your mind.
I mean, isn't that what Prophet Mohammed said, right?
This was from some of the believers, sort of following his example. This is what he did. He was noticed to have never criticized anybody. He'd just be silent. He had slaves, servants. After he died, one person who was a slave that was to be freed, for 30 years, that man never said judgment of me, never said a harsh word to me, never criticized me. And you know, obviously made many mistakes over 30 years. There is not one Muslim, this is from Al-Shafi, there's not one Muslim who obeys God without ever transgressing against God. Nobody. Nobody in this path, if you want to say it, is without moments of transgressing what God has told us to do or not to. Right? And we can test that out. Is there anybody here? Okay. Nor is there one who transgresses against the law without ever having obeyed him. So even the transgressors always have had moments of obeying the law. If a man's obedience outweighs his transgressions, then he is righteous. Something to think about. But why stop there? Islam Hadith, God disapproves of argumentation for you. God disapproves of argumentation for you. All argumentation. Now, since y'all signed up for the Path of the Ones Brought Near, it's not just about what we say or don't say. I mean, that's a very praiseworthy state to not say things and so on and so forth. But in this way, it's also asking Allah to achieve silence of the heart. So the heart's not going into judgment. The heart is actually silent. This is done by giving up suspicions of other people. It's one of the places we go, make suspicions. Oh, well, they did that because. Or they're not really blah, blah, blah. Or they're being blah, blah, blah. Suspicion. If someone has committed misdeeds right before your eyes, ascribe his actions, if at all possible, to absent-mindedness or forgetfulness. If at all possible. Highly recommend, if you want to go more deeply into this, the essay, The Man with the Perfect Mind. The man, what is it? The pure white mind is the perfect holy world. Man with a pure white mind is the perfect holy mind. This has to do with having white mind, being able to live like this. Suspicion comes from A, perception of an outward sign, which triggers thoughts that cannot be set aside. So now we're going to get into how does this happen. So suspicion or judgment comes, something happens, creates thoughts, and it triggers within the heart thoughts which cannot be set aside. Prejudice, which causes you to settle for the worst possible interpretation. The worst possible interpretation. And you do that of yourselves as well as other people. So it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. So if you can bring yourself to be less judgmental about yourself, you'll find yourself being less judgmental about others. Vice versa, if you really take on being less judgmental about other people, you'll be less judgmental about yourself. Al-Ghazali said, "You must know that a man's belief is incomplete so long as he does not wish for his brother what he wishes for himself. The lowest degree of brotherhood is where you treat your brother as you would wish to be treated yourself." Remember, when the scholars write, the Gnostics write, there's often 3 levels, Islam, Iman, and Ihsan, going from the basic to the most excellent. So the most basic level of real brotherhood is that you want for the other person what you want for yourself. Which is a pretty high starting place. like, yeah, I really do prefer that you take that parking place after I've been looking for someplace to park for 20 minutes. I'm really okay with that. The lowest degree brotherhood is where you treat your brother as you'd wish to be treated yourself. And there is no doubt that he would expect you to veil his shame and keep quiet about his misdeeds and faults. So that's the lowest. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, don't fall out with one another. Do not hate one another. Do not envy one another. Do not break off one with another. Serve God as brothers. The Muslim is the brother to the Muslim. He does not wrong him or offend him or forsake him. A man can do no worse than to disgrace his brother. So this is just some of the taste. This really comes from the example of a prophet that was set to give us something to true up to. And we're all going to make mistakes, we're all going to fall short, but remember, action is rewarded by intention, not by your results. So if you intend to carry a heart that is without judgment, that veils the faults of your brothers, that is merciful, even with your mistakes, there's still great rewards. What are the rewards? The rewards are Allah brings you closer. Allah gives you healing. Allah may protect you from illness. Allah may protect your family and loved ones from accidents. I mean, we don't know what those rewards are. We've seen them all just in our time together in the last 15 or 20 years. So, how many people have been very aware that there's many, many practices, spiritual practices, that are prescribed in this path? Right? It's like 5 times a day prayers, and an hour of remembrance, and listening to Quran for 2 hours, and reciting all the ayats, and right, and writing CD, and and then you go to Sufi University, and there's even more. How many people have that? Yes? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is all really important, and the anchors that we talked about before really help you stay connected, and that's where I'm headed right now. It's all very important. But did you know that it was said by the Prophet Mohammed, I don't know the exact hadith now, and recognized by the companions, that those who developed moral character that was a reflection of the Prophet Mohammed were more honored and more respected than the people who did like oodles and oodles of prayer and fasting and all of that. They're more admired, more respected. The whole idea of just moral character is something that it's not esoteric. You don't have to see energies into the 4th dimension. You just have to listen and watch what you do. Just be aware of your heart. Okay?